Okay, welcome back. Round 3. I don't know how many rounds we're going to do. We may be here for a while. There's so much stuff I want to ask you. But this time round, I want to ask you about the post-COVID church. This has been a significant moment in history. We can't deny it. I believe that God has shaken the earth. I think he's done a lot of things in the church. We as a church, at Flow Church, we're wrestling with what does it look like going forward. I'm very, very hesitant to go back to the old style of way we used to do it. I'm thinking about what's going forward. You're, for me, somebody that I feel is already running this direction. You've created your own app. You've created an e-church. But not only that, but you're creating schools where people get trained up. You're creating all kinds of missions, expressions. So I guess I just want to ask you, what does post-COVID church look like? As practical as you can give me.
Dear God.
If you don't know, just say that's fine. But I want to hear what you're
Okay,
thinking.
so I'll never claim to know the whole thing. I can only kind of say parts. And
Please do.
And I think my expression is still trying to figure out those parts as well. So I would be glad to probably throw the same question back at you.
Yeah, sure. Please feel free.
But I think what it looks like is getting back to the mission.
Okay. Yep.
And letting the method take care of itself.
Great.
You know, the mission is to equip the saints.
Yes.
That's the mission.
That's the mission of the church. Amen.
And for so long, I think the format we've constructed, even though we said it was equipping the saints, it ended up enabling the saints. And the only way we know it enabled most of the saints is what happened when our church doors closed. I think we have created, one of the things the Lord told me is that the greatest danger of the church today, the greatest crisis of the church today, is that we have conformed everyone to church and few to Christ. And that was a huge wake-up call for me, and that's why we did e-church before COVID started.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about e-church, it wasn't about the method, it was about the message. And we wanted people to know that our ministry is to equip them. And that's why we call RIG, which means Restoring God's Generation, but RIG also means to equip. And so our ministry is to equip the saints. That's our entire ministry. Harvest the harvesters, equip the saints for the work of ministry. And so we shifted our focus very quickly. When COVID happened, we fit in very nicely into that sphere, and people actually started calling me to consult on how to switch over. But when it happened and we were in COVID, part of the thing I said to leaders is, now you can no longer make it about you. Now you can no longer make it about your vision.
Wow.
Because online people have something that on-site people don't have.
Comment section.
They have, huh?
Comment section.
That's a good one. Yes. Instant feedback.
Yes.
Which is always great.
Yeah.
But they have anonymity. They have the power to go somewhere else.
Quickly.
And that is, you know, when I wasn't saved, when I was saved, actually, I was in the marketing world anyway. I was a digital marketing consultant for a lot of companies, and I always told them the same thing. Anonymity is what gives people the power to bounce off of you and go to another website. Because if I come to you and you're telling me it's $12.99, I can now go to an aggregate website straight away and compare the price.com and figure out your prices were bogus or inflated compared to this price, which was cheaper. Not only that, but when you have an on-site, there's this pressure when you have on-site shops. I know I'm comparing shops to churches, but just bear with me for a second.
With you. Go for it.
There's this thing where you go to on-site shop. You come into the shop, you know that you can't afford anything in there, right? Maybe you made the fatal mistake of walking into Burberry one day, and you like the scarf. You're
Everyone
like,
likes the Burberry scarf.
and you're like,
That's exactly what I was thinking
exactly.
about.
That scarf can't be too expensive. How much is that?
Yeah.
What, £100?
Yeah.
You're thinking?
Easy.
And they tell you, yeah, how much is it? It's like, why is the label not on it? Well, we don't put labels on high-end goods. And they open the thing, and it's like £1,000. And you go, would you like to buy it? And you're like, all of a sudden, this overwhelming pressure to buy something you can't afford comes upon you. And you either say, I'll be right back, I'm just going to go to the bank account and never come back again. Or you say, interesting. Sure, I'll buy it.
I'll think about it.
Or I'll think about it, right? The pressure's there. When you're online and you see that same Burberry bag, there's no waiting person. There's no person going, how can I help you? Or is there anything you need? You don't think twice, you can go away. And so same thing with church. I think a lot of pastors are building in the online space and still making it about their vision, not realizing that actually they're watching you after they've just watched Steve Furtick or Michael Todd.
Yeah.
They've just finished their 3 supplement churches or their main service, and you're now the 5th church that they just go to, maybe as a courtesy or because they just want to see what's going on in the church. That is always going to be a thing that we're going to have to ride past in this new season. We have to make it about equipping the saints. Our entire focus, our obsession now has got to be equipping the saints, not help us pay for our bigger, fix our roof or get the new latest air conditioning for our church. No, focus on them. When you add value to them, they'll add value back to you. When you improve their lives, they'll want to bless you back. Also, the new normal doesn't look like direct asking anymore. You know, gone are the days of the offering tray. I'm sure it'll come back, but the offering tray is still there. We still go, hey, so, would you like to sow? Actually, people don't give to anything anymore that's not adding value to their lives. And so you have to be incredibly focused on how do I be of much benefit to these people as possible, that they don't abuse my generosity, but at the same time, how do we build for mutual benefit? How do I show them that I'm here for them? How do I show them that I've got their back? Third thing is community can't be faked anymore.
Yeah.
It's got to be real. And that's why we built this app, because we want to build community. We want to build fellowship. You know, before you go to church, you have teas and coffees, everybody find their clique and everybody find their space and find the person you like to talk to the most. And now with the world we're coming into, the only people who are going to hang out with you are genuine relationships. We're going to find they're there for you. In crisis, you know who your friends are.
Sure.
And that's why I said, I think all of those things are going to take care of itself. Technology is definitely a method. I always think you're never going to displace online meetings. But here's a challenge God gave me one day. He said to me one day, why is church on Sunday? And I said, because it is. You know, God, it's on Sunday. He says, why is it on Sunday? I said, well, because it's your Sabbath, right?
Right?
And he goes, well, why is church on Sunday and sin on demand? And that really struck the core of my being. Why is church on Sunday and sin on demand? And all of a sudden something hit me, and I began to study, and there's a whole history to why church became on Sunday, but I'm not going to go into that yet. But why is church on Sunday and sin on demand? And I look at the book of Acts, and the Bible says, and they met daily.
Daily, come on.
I was like, these people had to like each other to meet daily. I'm not going to lie. I've been in church for a long time, and there are people I don't want to meet daily. I mean, I love you from afar. I love your Jesus-loving, flag-waving self from a distance. But you bring that worship javelin to my house every day, I might lose my cool. You know, we had people in some of the churches that we pastored who just, you know, you're in worship. Oh, Lord, I worship you because of who you are. And the music is so slow, the keyboard is playing. And then somebody just pulls out a shofar from their handbag.
What, just blows it?
And it's not even a good blow. There's like spit coming out the side of their mouth. And you're just like, oh, why? You know, These people liked each other.
Yeah, yeah.
To
Well, the
me,
daily forces
to
you to actually deal with the stuff that you would move
absolutely.
past on a Sunday.
And so I think the new normal looks like people who actually can't stand not being around each other, just love to build in fellowship. And actually, this crisis has pulled some of the most amazing people into our lives that are real, genuine. It's not hierarchical. It's not apostolic, prophetic people, the lay people,
Sure.
ushers, the deacons, the unapproachables. You know the unapproachables, right? The ones that walk around as if everything's a chest issue. You know,
Okay.
yes, I'm the man of God. I'm the woman of God. Who wants to meet me? They have to meet my usher
Yep.
before they. All of that is gone now. The playing field has been leveled out, and now people want access. People can DM their leaders now.
Yes.
It's no longer go into the who's who of the zoo.
Reception and
They
go
can
past,
DM you now
Yeah.
if they want to reach you. And so the idea of some kind of blocker to the person, and I get honor. I believe in honor. I don't believe in familiarity. I always honor people I see and leaders around me and all that stuff. But the new normal has got to be relational and not functional. And I think when God said we've conformed everybody to church and no one to Christ, I think what he means is we have lost the relationship aspect that binds us together, and we've become by and large these kind of functional Sunday gathering machines. I'll do the teas, I'll do the coffee, I'll do the smoke machine. And actually, what good is it if there's no more wine in the church? You know, James the Lateran said something that's blows me away to this day. I've actually stolen it from him. So some days I won't quote him, but today I will, in case he's watching. I'm joking. He said something powerful. He said, you know, Mary was at a wedding feast, and the party's going on, but the wine's run out. And only Mary knew the wine was gone. Everybody else is partying. Everybody else is merrymaking. And he said, isn't it interesting that the church can go on and the wine is gone?
Wow. We do love James.
I do love James. He
and the wine is, you got to bring Christ back into the party to have the wine back.
The wine is Christ. It's the Holy Spirit. It's letting God actually back into the midst of his assembly. And I think, you know, we call it the assembly, but assembly means you're assembling around something. You know, there's an assembly line that makes Cadbury's bars. There's an assembly line that makes cars. You ask the church, what's the assembly around? It's like fellowship.
Yeah, tradition.
We, you know, if the fellowship is not around Christ, I think we're losing our centricity. And, you know, somebody asked me to help write this letter that went out, and it was a great letter. I'm not dogging it, from all of these pastors and leaders to go to the to Parliament. To petition Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, to open churches. And the question is, why is the church essential? And
or when did the church close?
Yeah. And I think it's actually a really good question that we should ask ourselves. Have we lost our essence? Have we lost you know, when you say non-essential, that means there's an essence. You can do many things. You know, your phone can do so many things right now. It can video, take pictures, it can play games.
Do anything you need it to, yeah.
But its essence is communication. And if it loses essence at an emergency, people don't want all of the functions. They just want the essence. When you're on a boat somewhere and you're about to drown, you're not wondering what your score is on Angry Birds. You want to call somebody to come and rescue you. And here we are in a crisis, and we're like, you saw we help the community. We feed the poor. We help those are great assets, but they're not the essence of why God put us in the earth. And I think COVID-19 is, if it should do anything, it should pull us back to our essence. And the essence of the house of God is the essence of schools. is books, education. If you get rid of books, you say, hey, can you sign up your new boy to our school? We have no textbooks, but we're a great school. Nah. If you go to a hospital, come to our hospital if you need treatment. We have no medicine though, but come.
Come, yeah.
You've lost your essence. What is it that we're supposed to come to the house of God for? And when I look at what Jesus said in Matthew, he says, on this rock, I will build my ecclesia. And you see that, what was that rock? It was the first revelation that Apostle Peter gave about the sonship of Christ. Revelation is the bedrock of the institution called the church. And when churches lose revelation, we become museums. You look all over Scotland, all over the world right now.
Wow.
Churches are becoming these pubs.
They literally are becoming museums.
They become museums and pubs and nightclubs and places people come and do all kinds of stuff at, not because the church isn't powerful. We only need to turn the light on. That's all we need to do. So what do we need to do to get back to God? Just turn the light on. That's it. And let that, what is that light? Revelation, illumination. You look at, Jesus at the end, he comes in Revelation to these churches and he's like, behold, this letter says the Son of Man who has this. And every letter is this big, boisterous introduction to not this lamb that we saw years ago, this conquering king now. And he's writing one letter to this church. He goes, behold, the Son of Man who holds the candlesticks of heaven and blah, blah, blah. And you're looking, you go, wow, what's he going to do to this church? He goes, I see that you are neither hot nor cold. And he says, I'm going to come to you and you're going to what? You're going to what? I'm going to take your candlestick away.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So bad.
Kill someone, But what, just go on the candle? Like, what's that going to do? It's going to make them non-essential.
Yeah.
If you get the lights off in the church, if you get the revelation off in the church, if the illumination goes and nobody has eyes to see ahead, the church is non-essential. I'm done.
Mate, I'm taking this in. I'm learning something. I'm feeling challenged myself. I'm trying to let's pick up on some of the stuff you said. We're becoming missional. The method doesn't matter really, is what you're trying to say. So the online side of it is not necessarily. We're not like passionate to get online. We're just passionate to equip.
We don't have a choice. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. Nobody has a choice. Whether you're building a church or whatever, if you're working in a hospital, I tell my mum who's a dentist, you have to get in tech. You don't have a choice. We are in that age now.
Yes.
There's no choice. But will that be our only source? I mean, who knows? One day your kids may be having VR goggles on, having church, doing offering in the What are you doing, son? I'm giving my offering.
I'm just worshiping right now.
I just gave my Bitcoin in the offering tray, Dad. That could be the new normal.
But you're saying the missional focus is, again, getting us back to that. You talk about daily. These are actually, I have 3 things I think we're going to move into, and these are very similar to mine. Daily stuff, the kind of genuine relationships, actually trying to meet together more regularly, maybe even, but just more authentic rather than just doing these events for events' sake.
100%.
And then the equipping. There's a lot there. I feel personally challenged when you talk about it's not going to be around one man's vision. I think that's definitely a challenge for me. I want to think about I think very long and hard about how I equip people, but maybe there's something there I need to process in myself. Can I ask you more of a personal question then?
Good.
If I said to you, Tomi, what should I focus on? Liam Parker, pastor of Flow Church. We're 2 years old. We've got this warehouse. We're trying to do some stuff online. We're trying to move with the times. What would you say to me, like, Liam, I think this is where you need to focus?
I'm going to sound like a broken record. Revelation.
Okay, no, say it.
All of this only works if you're relevant.
Okay.
You're not relevant because you're with the times. You're not relevant because you found the latest trend. Even a dead fish can go with the flow. That's not what
Wow,
makes you
come on,
relevant.
man. Come on.
You're relevant because you've got a truth, a secret of God that nobody else knows but you.
Okay.
And that changes the climate when you say it. And so the Bible says he chose 12. Why? That they might be with him and that he might send them out. Be with him first. The sending comes late. That's why I said it's really not about the method.
Yes.
It's about, and it sounds so cliche, when I spend time with Jesus and he gives me his secrets, you know, those secrets are what the world is longing for. They're groaning for it. And so media just becomes a method to transmit God's secrets.
That's it. Yeah.
That's really all
That's
it
it.
is. And so if I could say an area of focus, it would be get a keyboard in here, get some 24-hour worship going, create an atmosphere where revelation, where angels can descend and ascend on this warehouse and just give you intel every day.
Great.
Revelation, and become marry nations. You love Europe, and that's
Yes.
what I love about you. You've found your area. It's Europe. Do you know, God, there's no veil. Nothing separates you from me in terms of what we're hearing.
Yes.
Probably the only difference is I've just become so foolish that I say anything he tells me to say. Like Paul said, I become a fool for Christ.
Yes.
Before you can become a leader, you have to become a fool. And I didn't learn this again. I'm not smart enough to get this. I watched a YouTube video on this. It was about the first fool. It was a really powerful video, actually, about how to start a movement. You got to check it out on YouTube.
Yeah.
And basically, there's this guy, and he's dancing by himself on a beach. He's just like looking like an idiot. Like he's dancing. He's like, and then the narrator's like, "This is the first fool." And then somebody else comes after that person, and he calls that person the first follower. And that person is the leader. The leader is the first follower, not the first fool. And so I became a fool for Christ. The reason I have a follower, I thank God for my first follower. My first follower is my wife, by the way.
Nice.
And I thank God for my first follower because my first follower made me look less foolish. And everybody else that comes after that makes me look a lot less stupid every single time. So I'm so grateful for anybody who's willing to follow me. Well, they're not following me, they're following Christ, but, you know, follow me as I follow Christ. I thank God for that. But the method to the madness was I became a fool. When God first spoke to me and told me what he told me, I just decided to share it. See, he says, what you hear in the secret, declare on the rooftops. And so, you know, I just decided I was going to declare on the rooftops, and if I perish, I perish. Everyone has to reach that place in leadership where you have to find something worth dying for. If you haven't discovered that, you really haven't discovered your passion. And so when I realized I could actually die on this hill of the prophetic. I love nations. I may not love Europe as much as you love Europe. I do love Europe, but you love Europe. I can tell, you know. I love America. I love Nigeria. I love South Africa. I love the nations God speaks. I love the Philippines. I love China. These are the nations God speaks to me about, and you can only really fall in love with, as you know, what God speaks to you about. And so the challenge is to dig deeper in those conversations with God. When you dig deep in those conversations, God, why are you laying Europe on my heart? Okay, God, where do you want to start first? Which part of Europe do you want to start first? Oh, Sweden? Okay, God, what do you love about Sweden? Oh, I love this, and you're writing this out. Okay, God, what do you not like so much about Sweden that needs to conform into your? Oh, you know, there's just 3 things that I have against it. Okay, and you're writing it down.
Wow.
Okay, God, how can Sweden align with you to change those 3 things? Oh, if they would just do this, and you would just tell them to. Oh, okay, God, and you're writing it down. Okay, God, what 3 areas are you going to bring in that would give me credibility? Because you need credibility to prophesy, to speak into this. Oh, there's this I've exposed, there's this I'm exposing, there's this I'm exposing. Oh, you write those down. So you go and you share, I was just praying about you guys because I love you. I love Sweden. And this is what I heard about this, and this. Like, how did he know that that's what's happening here? And then all of a sudden it gives you the credibility because God's given you his secrets.
Great, man.
And now you have influence to say, well, this is what God wants you to align with. Anyone can do it. That's why we do Rig School. We literally sit there and go, this is so easy.
That is everything you just said, I think, is really beautiful for people to hear, because they can all go home and say, actually, what's a nation I want to be passionate about? Even if it's a town, a street.
Absolutely.
Like, what's happening in my street right now?
Exactly.
What's happening in my neighbour's house that I want to... And then you can hear for them and actually just take a step of boldness.
That's the beauty
look
of
foolish.
it. You don't have to be a witness to the ends of the earth. You can be a witness in Jerusalem,
yes,
in Judea,
yes,
in Samaria, wherever God puts you, in your workplace.
Yeah,
God, what do you love about my boss?
Yeah.
Joseph did that for Pharaoh. It's
yes.
like, God, what is the stream he's had? Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel, whatever it is God's called you to steward will always give you influence in something else. And so, but it's just about having those conversations with God. The measure of your influence is determined by the conversations you have with God.
Great.
And that is as simple as it is. Exodus 34, Moses knew not that the skin of his face was shining by reason of his conversation with the Lord. His shine was by reason of his conversation.
Yes.
His influence was by reason of his conversation. So, I don't have methods. I can't 10 steps to growing church, 50 steps to growing a YouTube following of 100,000. I only have one. Talk to Jesus.
Yes, come on.
And when you do, he'll draw all men unto him. He will, because all of a sudden the glory that was on his face is now the glory that's upon you.
Yes.
And it's drawing people to Jesus. And that's it.
So I asked you a question earlier about why you think people listen to you. And we're saying, really, people might listen to you because you just spend time with Jesus. And what we're trying to say is people don't really want to hear you. They want to hear Christ through you.
Absolutely.
And that's why some people will come and sit with you. And I love it because we've gone back all the way around to what it always does with everything to do with faith. Are you abiding in the vine? Are you actually spending time talking with Jesus for yourself behind a closed door? And if I'm honest, I think that's a real challenge to us in the post-COVID church. I think we pretended to talk to Jesus. I think a lot of Christians have gone to church on a Sunday, but then they go home and they do not talk to Jesus.
Absolutely.
I remember stories where I've said to people like, how many times you've spoken to, and they just looked at you like, oh, I didn't realize we were supposed to do that. And I think now is a time where we got to get back to, hate to say back to the basics, it just sounds so cliched, but we got to go back to actually you and I separately, all going into our separate rooms, closing the door, and what your Father sees you do in secret will reward you for that secret.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the that's the foundation.
And I think sometimes that sounds daunting as well. Got to get a prayer life. Oh gosh, that means toilet seat. Talk to Jesus.
Just sit. Yeah, that's it.
Do you know I get most of my best revelations on that darn toilet seat? It sounds so carnal. Sometimes I can be in the shower and God will be like, you get all your revelations in the shower. I don't know what it is. It's the rainwater, it's something. God,
or you just stop thinking about everything else.
Exactly. You become a philosopher in the shower. You're like, to be or not to be? That's the question. All of a sudden in that, God just starts speaking to you. And listen, sometimes I whip out that toilet roll and I'm writing down what he's saying. Like, God, that's powerful. And so, build a prayer life, not just a prayer time.
That's it. Not 10 minutes in the morning. It's a whole conversation. Prayer without ceasing.
Absolutely.
It's communion.
Absolutely.
And that's how we do it with our wives. You don't have 10 minutes with your wife in the morning. That's it. You're done with marriage for the day. Your marriage is a one long conversation.
It's a long
a long conversation. Look, we got 43 seconds. I want to do another video with you. So we're going to do one more round.
Let's do one more
Guys,
round.
Thanks very much for watching. This has been an amazing round. I have learned a lot, feel really challenged and grown. So thank you so much, Tomi. Guys, tune in. One more round. Stick it out. Stay with us. See you in a minute.